Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the NeverPeak Project Podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be going over 6 key takeaways that I gained from the Small Business Expo that I attended last week in San Francisco. It was about an 8 to 10 hour event. I met hundreds of different people. I heard incredible stories, and I attended a whole bunch of workshops, and my intention with this episode is to really just bring those 6 key takeaways to the forefront so that you guys can take those and put them into your business, your nonprofit, your organization, and really just increase your impact and really help make a difference in those that you serve. So go ahead and sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Starting off with number 1. And guys, tip number 1 is for all of you introverted entrepreneurs out there. I've kind of described myself as a extroverted, introverted, introverted, extrovert. I feel like I'm kind of on the cusp. So when I saw that this was a workshop that was going to be presented at the Small Business Expo, I knew that I had to attend just to be sure that I can up my skills a little bit, meet a few people, and just see what the presenter had to say. And this workshop was put on by Jerome, Dees Jr. of Dees Partners. I'll be sure to link everybody, all the presenters' information into the show notes so that you can check them out, see what else they have to say, and just really dive deeper on some of the material that we're covering today. And Jerome's first tip for introverted entrepreneurs at networking events is to have a goal outside of sales. Now, if you're anything like me, feeling like you're going to a conference, like you don't want to feel like you're selling the entire time. You don't want to feel like you're like, what is it, when you have salesman's breath, when you kind of just, you can just tell that people know that's all you're trying to do. And when you go to these events, you also don't want to be sold to. And that's really what Jerome hit on during the beginning of this section, is know that nobody likes being sold to. Nobody likes feeling that pressure. Nobody likes, just feeling like they're on that entire time. Now, he says that you should definitely know about your product. You should know about your business. You should be able to explain it clearly and effectively to those that you talk to. But he said, perhaps focus on something a little bit different. Maybe have a goal of hand out 30 business cards, to have a conversation with 10 different people, or just get to know a few people, learn about 10 other businesses. Have something external that by default, as a byproduct of that goal, you will have the opportunity to get your name out there, that you can talk about your cause and the mission and the people that you're working to serve. And moving into tip number 2, guys, it's going to be a little bit of a 2-parter. There's 2 steps for tip number 2, but really it's just about getting engagement on social media and using these networking events as a way to create content. So the first thing you're going to do, step 1, is take pictures of the event. Take selfies with the workshop coordinators. Take photos of the event. Just really document what is going on at the event that you're attending, whether it's networking, a presentation, a workshop, just really any way for you to say, hey, I was here, this is what I was doing. And remember Gary Vee's tip, which is to document, don't create. Don't focus on creating this beautiful piece of artwork, this beautiful content that's going to get 1 million shares. Just focus on your experience and what you took away from the presentation, the workshop, or the people that were around you. So the very first step, document it. And step number 2 is to post about it. Post it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever your platform of choice is. In this case, we're going to be talking specifically about LinkedIn. So all you're going to do is take the content that you documented during your time at the event, post it on LinkedIn. Give a quick recap, talk a little bit about your highlights, what your favorite parts were, but then tag the people that are in the photos, tag the workshop presenters, tag the speakers. Really just, everybody that you can, tag them in it. 1, it helps you create a network because you're probably going to have to follow them. You're probably going to have to connect with them. And it kind of gives a face to the name so that you're not just in the sea of people that they met throughout the day. You're going a step beyond, right? And then step number 2, with step 2, is tag the location. So in this case, we were at the South San Francisco Conference Center. Tag them. Tag the event host, which is Small Business Expo. And then tag, for extra special credit, tag a local restaurant that you went to, or a coffee shop, or something else that you did in the area, just really as a way to say thank you, because everybody loves to be acknowledged. Everybody loves to kind of see, hey, like other people found what I did valuable, and they're willing to share it with their network. And the reason for that, 1, I think it just helps you a lot in terms of retention and learning for your own personal development, and you're sharing it with your network, providing value. but also those people that you shared that content about, when you tag them, they'll be notified, and there's a chance that when they interact with your content, it will show you to their audience. And this is something that Alex Hormozy mentioned before, where people will create content about things that he said or things that he's done, and he likes it, he comments it, he reposts it, shares it, whatever, and then his entire audience will see that content. And that's how a smaller creator can, I hate to say it this way, but a smaller creator can take advantage of this bigger creator's network and their presence on LinkedIn. So document, share, tag, and interact with people that comment on those posts as well. And the next workshop that I attended was Profit with Purpose. And this one was put on by Anne Scotland from Focus Meta Mindset Inc. And honestly, guys, this was probably one of my favorite presentations from throughout the day. And the reason for that is I finally learned the shorter word to describe the people that I want to serve with my coaching practice. So Anne, thank you so much for putting on this presentation and for really just bringing it to the forefront of my mind. And that term is a social entrepreneur, or a socialpreneur for short. So really what a socialpreneur does is they are able to use their business, the entity that they created, as a way to create more good in the world. Now let me explain. There's a few different ways that somebody can be a socialpreneur. And when I explain these three things, I think it's all going to come together and make sense for you. There are three main categories that you do 1, 2, or 3 of these. You just have to hit one, and you're considered a socialpreneur. And the first one is that your business solves a humanitarian or environmental issue. 2, that you're able to create jobs for underserved communities, such as ex-cons or impoverished communities. And 3 is donating a specific portion of profits to causes that you believe in. And really, to break those 3 things down, I think that there are 3 main examples to give for each of those. So for example, in terms of solving a humanitarian or environmental issue with their business, the one that comes to mind for me the quickest is Tony's Chocolonely. Now, if you've ever been to REI or a fancier grocery store, or I mean, even just on social media seeing their ads, I'm sure you've seen Tony's Chocolonely. There's these nice, brightly colored bars, and they're pretty wrapped. They have cute little sayings on them. But really, what their mission is to create a 100% slave labor-free cocoa trade. And they're doing that by supporting local farmers, by paying fair wages, and just really bringing an awareness to that issue as a whole. Now, they could have just been like any other chocolate company and just get the cheapest products and just make the chocolate, make it taste good, say we're the best because we taste good. But what they're really doing is bringing an issue that a lot of people didn't even know was prevalent to the forefront, and they're working to solve it through their business, through their partners. So in terms of solving a humanitarian or environmental issue, Tony's Chocolonely, from my own experience and what I've seen, is one of the pinnacles of that aspect. And the second way for somebody to be considered a socialpreneur is to hire or serve underprivileged communities. So for example, first one that came to mind for me on this one is Dave's Killer Bread. And the cool thing about Dave's Killer Bread, which I've seen them in a whole bunch of different grocery stores, but they are what is called a second chance employer. So they really do pride themselves on hiring those that have a criminal background in order to give them a second chance. Now, most companies, they see whatever is on somebody's record and they might think twice about hiring them. Whereas with Dave's Killer Bread, their whole purpose and focus is, about giving these people, these communities, a chance to rebuild their lives and really come out on top in terms of fixing their mistakes and really just creating a life that they really want to make for themselves. So that's a second way that somebody can be considered a socialpreneur. And the third way for somebody to be considered a socialpreneur is to donate a specific portion of their profits to environmental or humanitarian causes. And the very first one that came to mind for me on this one, you're going to start sensing a pattern in the types of brands that I consume. But the one that comes to mind for me on this one is Cold-Blooded Caffeine Company. Now, Cold-Blooded Caffeine Company is a sponsor for my Walk Across America. I'm an affiliate of them, just to clarify. But the reason that I wanted to sign up with them is because they are hugely impactful and involved in the reptile community. Now, cold-blooded caffeine company, of course, insinuates, snakes and lizards and all the creepy crawlies, right? They're a coffee company that looks for ethically sourced, high-quality coffee beans from across the globe. And the reason that they started in the first place is that Trey, one of the owners, realized that the same countries that were producing coffee that he loved were where the animals that he bred in his facility were endemic to. That's where they came from. And he kind of started looking into it and realized there are all these different issues with deforestation and just really environmental concerns that are being caused by the coffee industry. So he said, I'm going to start a coffee company, really focus on the animals, really focus on the natural habitats that these critters come from. And it just so happens that critters and coffee come from the same place that he loves. So why not find a way to protect them and bring this awareness to the marketplace? And what they're able to do is they're able to donate, I believe it's 5% of their proceeds from the coffee sales to the Rainforest Alliance. It helps them prevent deforestation and just really protect the environments that these animals are coming from. So I think that those are 3 examples. Let me know, send me an email in the comments, whatever, which one of these 3 areas you serve as a socialpreneur, or which one of these 3 areas that you want to look into. 4th takeaway is from a presentation called Foundations of Success, which was all about values. And this one was put on by Stacey Harris of 13 Miles Consulting. And what Stacey really harbored in on this is that by defining your core values for yourself as an individual and for your organization as a whole, you'll be able to attract those that resonate with those messages. And whether it is you value accountability, communication, truthfulness, trustworthiness, whatever it is that you value, being able to share that with your audience, share that with your employees and stakeholders and partners, you'll be able to really create an environment where you're able to consistently live within those values. And personally for me, being able to identify my core values has helped me make better decisions in my business, helped me make better decisions on what I wanted to focus on with my walk across the country. So this one really just solidified everything that I already believed in. Something that she shared near the end of the presentation that really resonated with me that I want to share with you is, well, that's great, is, I post these values on my website, et cetera, but what if it turns some people off? They don't want to work with me because of these values. They don't want to interact with me. They don't want to see what I have to offer. And those are very valid questions and concerns. But there's a metaphor that she shared that I loved, and it was, when you're looking for a good pair of shoes, you're going to find some that fit great, and you're going to find some that aren't a great fit. And that's okay. Because if you try to force the ones that aren't a good fit, all you're going to do is end up with blisters. And the last 2 were from Carlos Gill from GetResponse and his keynote address about using AI in your marketing. Carlos shared a story from one of the businesses that he started during COVID called Outlaw Masks, which was just a mask company that folks wore to prevent COVID-19 from spreading. And he and his business partner, in a way that I would describe it, did a little bit of guerrilla marketing with it. They didn't spend a whole lot on any marketing. They didn't have a marketing budget. They didn't spend money on fancy ads or partnerships. What they would do is the 2 of them go to frontline workers. They would pass out masks and they would record them passing out those masks and the genuine human responses and reactions that those people had. And they really focused on that community, on the people they were serving, not necessarily the product. The product was secondary in the content they were making. They were really focusing on the people. And that was something that he said throughout the presentation was focus on the people, not the product. What is the outcome? What is the experience people will have? But he was really just saying that there's so many opportunities to get this content. And they were able to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars from these masks. And without spending a whole lot of money on marketing or really any at all besides the gas to get from place to place and the initial masks themselves is honestly extremely impressive. And in this part of the presentation, he also really just hit on the importance of there's a huge difference between visibility and engagement. Now, if they were just getting a ton of views, but no sales, no comments, no interactions, that doesn't really help with anything. Whereas if they're getting a ton of interaction, they're getting a lot of engagement, and they're really building a community in the comments, that's what you want to focus on as a business owner, as a movement maker, as the leader of whatever cause it is that you're a part of, right? is making sure that you are creating content that engages. And the last tip that he shared was to cast a deeper net, not a wider one. He was really just stressing the importance of, it's not always about meeting every single person at a conference, not really just having like a mini conversation with everybody, but really focusing on a few deep conversations and deep relationships with folks. Because you can have a very surface level interaction with a whole lot of people. But if you want to create, I don't know, partners in your business, you want to create relationships, you really need to focus in on those people. And a tip that he gave to really just, I don't know, hone in and wrap this entire thing up is what do you do when you leave this convention? And what he suggested was to take all the business cards that we got throughout the day and take a photo of them and upload them to ChatGPT. And what you do is you upload those photos to ChatGPT and you ask it to create an Excel sheet for you with everybody's name, phone number, title, business, and email, and then just do follow-ups. And the reason I love that so much is when it comes to sending emails to people with their business cards, I am terrible at transcribing at times. I will put a period where there's not one. I will mistake an I for an L, whatever. But by having ChatGPT do it, it saved me some time. It prevented me from having an excuse of not wanting to transcribe everything out. And it only took a few extra minutes. And the reason for that is you met them during the convention. You hopefully had a good conversation with them at the expo or at the networking events. You did a follow-up with them, which I am, 3-4 days post-event at the time of recording this. I have personally not gotten a single follow-up email from everybody that I've met. But I have sent an email to everybody that I interacted with, that I shook hands with, that I got one of their business cards. And really the email that I sent, I wasn't selling anything. I wasn't pitching anything. I have, my website or workshops in my email signature that I have to everybody that I send. Really all it was, hey, insert name. It was really nice meeting you. And I remember a lot of those conversations. So I just put something, I hope that your trip next week is great. I hope that the rest of the day was great. I hope you got to get X out of this. Really just kind of taking notes throughout the presentation and throughout the day. And really, and something else that I did throughout the day was I actually did take notes in my notebook. So every time I met someone during speed networking, I would jot down the name, a few things about them and their business. I would take notes during the presentations, during the workshops. And that was just really to remember at the end of the day everybody that I met. And that's something that I started doing on my walk, is try to take as detailed of notes as possible throughout the day so that you remember names and just what people do. So that format is basically just, hey, great meeting you, insert something personal, I'd love to connect with you further, let me know if you'd like to chat more, have a great day. Nothing crazy, nothing too special, just, hey, thanks for your time, I'll talk to you soon. And that really wraps up the 6 tips for today's episode. Now, if you go to the show notes, you'll be able to claim your free gift for Listen to Me Yap for the last half hour. And what that is it's just a PDF that has the 6 key takeaways from the day. And I'm going to list the extra contact info for the people that I referenced and the people that I got these tips from, so you can check them out as well. Give them some love, follow them on socials, like their posts, interact. And it's just my way of saying thank you for listening to today's episode. And that's really all I got for today. If you have any questions, comments, emotional outbursts, always let me know in the comments or shoot me an email at ranger@withinrangecoaching.com. And remember to have fun, stay safe, be yourself, and to every day wake up and make the decision to never quit. I'll see you all next week.